Yezalamanda, siyayibona yezalamanda. Yezalamanda, siyayibona yezalamanda. Uyayibona iPirates. Yezalamanda, siyayibona yezalamanda.
Adidas, and Adidas. In the name of Adidas, I welcome you to the Big Daddy Football Corner. I am your host. My name is Simanga, the Big Daddy Makhubu. This brand called Adidas take this institution and brand called Orlando Pirates very seriously. Orlando Pirates, without a shade of doubt, is the club with the coolest drip, in the entire continent of Africa. What the players wore at FNB during pitch inspection, wow. I'm back once again, Bafetu. Post-match analysis, Orlando Pirates versus Sundowns, game played at FNB Stadium, and what an atmosphere. But I'm just going to start with what Optachabu wrote after the match. And this is what he wrote. He said, Orlando Pirates have won the league against Sundowns for the first time since January 2020, ending their 10-game winless run against the Brazilians in these competitions. It means Orlando Pirates last won in the league against Sundowns in 2020. I think they had 8 losses and only 2 draws. And finally, they got a win. And then the second thing he wrote was, Mofokeng, 2 goals within the opening 5 minutes, represented the quickest league brace by an Orlando Pirates player in PSL history, right? Then number 3, he wrote, Sundowns fell 2-0 behind to Orlando Pirates within 5 minutes, the earliest they have found themselves 2 down in the league game in PSL history. Guys, I just want to show you the magnitude of the game and what it meant for Orlando Pirates to win this game, which they won 2-1, against Sundowns, with a game, goal scored by Urele, and I happened, to also be at FNB Bafetu, and it was a different atmosphere. It was something special, guys. It's just a different kind of feeling being inside the stadium, and just being amongst fans that have the same faith and the ambition, to see Orlando Pirates becoming the club that is. I argue everyone to say, if you have time and money, just go to Orlando Pirates home matches. You will thank me later. Let's look at the log, right? Just by Orlando Pirates winning this game, they closed the gap to 15 points with 4 games in hand. And we all know 2 of those games, it's against Royal AM. And we know that in all likelihood, Orlando Pirates is going to be given, and any other team is going to be given those 6 points. So if Orlando Pirates win the 4 games that they are behind with, they will be 3 points behind Mamelodi Sundowns. I honestly think that the league will be very close. Even if Sundowns end up winning, it's going to the wire. For me, this was more of a psychological boost to Orlando Pirates, to continue pushing Sundowns till the last day. And if Orlando Pirates unceremoniously goes on and steal this league title from Klopp, I think this will be a game, that they will look and point and say, this is the fixture that turned the table upside down in our favor, So when now coming into the match, I told you I was there in the stadium, beautiful atmosphere, the singing, the dancing. Wow, FNB was lit, guys. But what I observed was the warm-up, Sundowns. When Sundowns came in for the warm-up, they used a different tunnel to get into the stadium. For me, there was something strange, something interesting. When we are there in the stadium, you don't have Twitter, especially because of the network issues. You don't see maybe my explanations of why. I only saw after the match, the explanation of why they used a different tunnel. But for me, it was something laughable because it looked like that special project that Orlando Pirates is known for. It seems like they were afraid of it. But once again, if Muti actually worked in football, I think Africa would have probably won the entire, the World Cup every time that cup is played. So whether it works or not, it's a different ball game altogether. But for me, it's the psychological part of it and how it works, from opposition teams, right? Because even if ungathatha just milli impuphu nje, uyithele egroundini, they will be very, very scared to even step on top of it. That's how much psychology that thing has, right? When I look at the lineup, that Jose had, there was no Tito. And we all know how influential and especially he is in this type of big games. But once again, Jose proved that this season he is more pragmatic than any other season. And for such big games, he's going to bring you that element of surprise. And game Omen did not bring it, because he came with a different plan. And I was very, very happy, that he realized the tactical blunders that happened in the first leg, at Loftus, where he went pound for pound with Sundowns, which is how Orlando Pirates lost. And I'm very happy that he wasn't stubborn in terms of sticking with the same 4-2-3-1, which wasn't giving the goals and the wins that Orlando Pirates needed. And then he just realized that this game requires something different, and he came up with a 3-4-1-2, which was a thing of beauty. Jose switched to this 3-4-1-2 formation, which most people view, as a defensive shape, but personally, I don't think so. Because I honestly think that it brings balance between defending and attacking. And it had famously won Uzabi Alonso, the Bundesliga last season with Bayern Leverkusen. I'm talking about this particular system. Now, against Sundowns, how for me, how he came and planned for this game, for me, the defensive structure was the highlight of the match. All what Jose did in this particular game, he corrected all the wrongs that were done at Loftus in the first leg, right? Number one, from a high line that was played at Loftus, he lowered the height of the defensive line, from into a mid block, and at some point in the second half into a low block. Number two was he better defended set pieces, even though I think the set pieces were just too many for my liking. But Orlando Pirates defended better those set pieces. Number three, he nullified any smell of transition from Sundowns with intense counter press and tactical fouls that he committed early before the danger, in this particular match. And then also the three center backs were very, very, very compact. And they ensured that, nothing penetrates between them, which closed the spaces and the pockets that Reyners and Shalule likes to run to. And also that they enjoyed in the first leg, you could see even Shalule was even subbed, in the second half, which is something that doesn't happen as often. As well as how Umbogazi, pocketed to Riviero for the entire 90 minutes. Hence, he even won the win of the match. The only critical thing that I observed of the three-man defense was how vulnerable it is, especially when one of the center backs jump on the press. I think I saw Kogi do it in the first half, Sibisi do it in the second half. When the Sundowns attacker breaks the line of four, in the control or creation zone, and people know it as Zone C, right? Because it creates those 2v2 situations on one side, which is how Sundowns scored their solitary goal. So Orlando Pirates going forward, they might need to limit these scenarios in the future, but overall the defensive shape worked to the T, and it was beautiful to see. But make no mistake, guys, Lucas Ribeiro gave Orlando Pirates a lot of trouble. He created a lot of half chances and fouls near the 18 area. There was a moment where he got the better of Umbogazi, in the second half near the corner kick when he turned him inside out. I think he was with Marco, if not Hoto, and then he played a cutback, a pass. He might not have made the impact, that everybody expected, but he's a special talent, even though being South American, he is an emotional player, because in almost every PSL match, he has produced magic. And for the first time, in the longest of time, I saw him very, very frustrated. In midfield, right? Orlando Pirates, I was impressed the most, or the player that impressed me the most was Udlamini. That's beside to Makaula, because I think in my own view, Makaula was my man of the match. I think he's the most consistent player in that Orlando Pirates team of 37 players. But Ukabelo Dlamini was very, very happy with him, especially for what he did, in out of position, because his strength is when we have the ball. But this time around, the shift that he put out of position, wow. You know, if you look at the heat map that's representing his preferential action zone, you realize that he played more deeper and he played more closer to the double pivot. He ran his socks off, you know, in trying to counter press, you know, in trying to close the spaces, you know, during the mid block and eventually into the low block. You know, if you look at, you know, data, he had in his 3 minutes that he played, he had about 2 interceptions, he had 2 tackles, right? Which are not his strengths, by the way. You know, he won all his 4 ground duels in those 63 minutes, and he had a 92 passing accuracy. So for me, it was a solid shift from Ukabele Dlamini, even though I hear people, you know, they were criticizing him for this game. But the midfield 3 for me was super lit, super solid. It was at height, it dominated, you know, Sundowns midfield. You know, they were always matching the numbers, you know, and the quality in midfield. They always created those 3v3 situations at all times, and they nullified, you know, the threat that this midfield of Sundowns of Allende Mokoena, you know, as well as Adams normally creates. Mokoena was even forced and rushed to take shots far away from where he can probably hit Orlando Pirates. So the Orlando Pirates, they totally took control of the midfield, you know, even during the mid block, and even when Orlando Pirates switched into a low block. I hear people saying Orlando Pirates were outplayed in the second half. I would like them to remind them, and I just look at the first leg that Orlando Pirates lost 4-1, right? Possession on that game, Orlando Pirates had 61, Sundowns had 39, but the score was 4-1. Passes, Orlando Pirates almost double Sundowns passes in that particular game, but they lost 4-1. But in this game that Orlando Pirates won, the possession was Orlando Pirates 60, Orlando Pirates 30, Sundowns 60, and the score was 2-1. 3 points were gone. Shots on target, Orlando Pirates had 6, Sundowns had 1. Passes, Sundowns almost doubled or even tripled, you know, Orlando Pirates passes, but the score was 2-1. Orlando Pirates took the points, you know, and they won the game. So possession means focor in this particular instance, right? The attack of Orlando Pirates, the Makhopa and Rele. You know, at first I thought Orlando Pirates were playing with double 10. I then realized, you know, after the first and the second goal, that it was actually 2 strikers that were used. You know, I think it was a brilliant idea and it worked on a day. Let me give flowers to Urele, you know, for the double that he scored, you know, and how he finished the goals, because he's been criticized that he's not as clinical as he needs to be. And even in some sections, you know, in the social media, they were putting doubt to his Bafana call up. But what a way to show up and show them that I'm here and my name is Rele. I'll also like to give Umakhopa his flowers too, because he's not the most loved player at Orlando Pirates, because always he's judged by his weaknesses than his strength. But if you look at his influence, guys, at Orlando, especially in this particular game, wow, you know, I also like the option that now we have at Orlando Pirates, an option to deploy 2 strikers, you know, at Orlando Pirates, which is something that in some games I just feel that we need to switch into 2 strikers, especially in games where we know that Orlando Pirates, you know, is going to dominate the game. But overall, congratulations to the biggest institution in South Africa, and I would like to give Jose his flowers and his flowers and his flowers, because for me he's undoubtedly Orlando Pirates' best coach in the past 2 decades. Dr. Ivan Khoza, Mpumi Khoza, Nkosana Khoza, you know what you need to do. You can't afford to lose this man, you know. And for me, this shape that Orlando Pirates played, or they switched to, you know, it gives me hope and comfort that when we go into CAF Champions League, this is one system that we can opt for. I went and spied on MC Alger because they were playing on Saturday, and looking at this formation and how it was interpreted and it worked for Orlando Pirates, I think this is probably how we need to obviously play against MC Alger, especially away, you know, into the stadium of theirs. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, share, comment, and please let me know if there's anything tactically that I might have missed. Aye, yeah. Aye.